everyone. Welcome to Couched in Color with Dr. Alfie. I'm your host, Dr. Alfie. This is the show where we talk about all things mental health for teens, young adults, the families and communities that love them. Welcome. The first thing I want to ask you to do is to go find us on YouTube. We are a video and audio podcast. So in addition to finding us on all podcast channels, Apple, Libsyn, Deezer, all the places, Radio Public, where you can subscribe to our channel. We also want you to find us on YouTube, right? Just click and put Couched in Color with Dr. Alfie in the YouTube search bar and you'll find us. And please do hit that subscribe button. Today, we're coming to you with a special episode in celebration of World Mental Health Week and World Mental Health Day. I am so pleased and honored to have this guest. He is a Grammy Award-winning producer. He's going to tell you all about that. I won't tell you all about who he is. I'll let him introduce himself and share that with you. But I will also say one of the things that I'm most proud of is that my brother is also a fellow Howard University graduate like me. So I am elated to be able to bring this to you. He's going to tell you about a special project he's put together that I hope you'll all run out and get and take advantage of. And so with that, let's get to the show and know that while the whole time we're talking, what I'm wishing for you is lots of love, lots of light, and you will learn how it is creatively informed by good, culturally relevant science. So stay with us. You're going to enjoy this episode.
Hey.
Hey, Dr. Alfie.
Oh my God. So I'm going to get you to do one thing for me because I think my tech did not catch just your name. So
Gotcha.
if you would just say your name, and then I want people to know what we have in common. So I'm going to need you to shout that out too. One thing that we have in common. So tell us your name one more time so I can make sure I get it recorded.
My name is Mark Batson, and I'm an alumnus of Howard University. Produce records and help to inspire creative artists to fulfill their dreams. And I've had a long time of helping a lot of great artists making their dreams come true. And now I'm just interested in continuing to share some of the things I've done or some of the ideas I've had to help people move their careers forward with more people, especially now, troubling times, you know.
Awesome. So, so thank you so much for that. So, we connected around something that I'm super passionate about, and I understand and I'm learning how passionate you are about it as well. So if you tell us a little bit about this project that you're working on that's in this space of mental health, because you come from a slightly different angle, right? Like you're a producer, a super producer and a musician, and you're in your studio, and clearly you work with a lot of artists, and so you're a creative. So tell me, how does the creative find himself in this space of mental health?
Well, for me, it was a direct challenge for me on a personal level. I think that, we were kind of bombarded with a lot of negative impulses and a lot of negative information really quickly from the beginning of when the coronavirus came. At first, there was this whole thing about, maybe they don't get coronavirus in Africa and maybe Black people can't get it. And then there was a dialogue. And then, us as Black people were always, many Black people I know, I can't speak for everyone, is kind of always concerned that these things are going to wind up in our laps, or these troubling times are going to wind up being twice or three times as troubling for us. So we waited patiently to see what would happen. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, African Americans are being disproportionately affected, and you're 3 to 5 times more likely to get it and die than any other type of American citizen. So right then, that's there's fear, there's anger. It's like, what do you do? You know what I mean? Like you're sitting in your house and you're like, what do you do? And then in the middle of this, don't go outside, be terrified. You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. And then like we're sitting still. And then, we had the Ahmaud Arbery murder where he was jogging. And then we had the George Floyd murder, which was the most terrible thing that ever, I think, happened in the history of the internet. And then, we had Breonna Taylor. These things were just massively hitting us. And then and then we're watching these protests, and then the protests, there people are fighting, and there's police shooting tear gas, and then mentally you're kind of like in this position of, well, what do I do? Like, how do I respond? How do I respond emotionally? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a strong person. You can't just run out and fix the coronavirus, and we can't run out and fix racism.
Right.
Else
Right.
we would have already done that
Seriously.
many years ago. So
Yes.
we can't just run out and fix these things. I mean, we can work at them, and we can struggle with these things. So for me, I find myself under a personal mental barrage of what do I do at this point? Like, and naturally, when you're under these high periods of stress or mental anguish, we do have a tendency to hurt ourselves. We do have a tendency to eat too much food, to drink too much alcohol, to try to escape over things that are overwhelming. And from that, I just went to affirmations. And for me, I listen to some affirmations. There's some people I really dig, like Louise Hay is one of those people. And but these are affirmations. This was too aggressive for Louise Hay, what I was experiencing.
Yes.
And when I work out, I kind of work out to hip hop music. But then even the hip hop music that I listen to, that I love, it started to take on a challenge for me, because there's a lot of anger in hip hop in general, and then there's a lot of anger in hip hop directed towards Black men. You know what I mean? It's like you're kind of listening to this music that's angry at Black men, and then you watching the TV and they're angry at Black men, and and Black people that on a whole, you're just feeling all this anger directed at you. And so I wanted to switch up the affirmations. I like C.T. Fletcher. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but his affirmations I always like. Like him. He's screaming, he's cursing at you. He's making you do that extra set in the gym. And I needed something for myself.
Yeah.
And then it was just one day. It was like George Floyd, the coronavirus things. Well, everything was just going crazy in my mind, and I just said, I started to write a poem. I wrote the first poem that I wrote for the record called "I Am," and I'm saying to myself, I'm bigger than this. Like I'm stronger than this. I have to tell myself that we will beat this. That we are stronger. That I am stronger than this. And I had my treadmill. I said it right directly in front of the mirror, and then started to just say these things to myself to combat all of the, I didn't want to say I can't breathe. I wanted to say, my lungs are stronger than ever. I wanted to say, everything, I'm breathing better than ever. I didn't want to say all the negative things like they're after us. We get this, things in music and online or whatever. There's this constant, stance of the victim. And then we just start feeling like, oh my God, they're after us again. They're chasing us. They're coming to get us. And I'm like, no. We can beat this. We can beat this. We're stronger than this. We can defeat this. We can, what can we do? And that's like, well, I can drink a lot of water. I can drink, gallon of water a day. I can eat my vegetables. I can do my exercise, and I can just keep my mental health. And that was my first step. And after that, I just kept writing and more poems and more poems and more poems and setting them to music. It was different environments. I usually make these heavy beat records, but this was more like I just wanted to sit inside of a silent environment so I could really absorb the words. And then by the time I had a bunch of songs that, I've sent it to a good friend that's close to me, a good friend that is a TV announcer, a commentator for hip hop named Justin Hunt for Hip Hop DX.
Okay.
And I sent it to Rosina Palacios, my right-hand partner, and I sent it to my sister. And they're like, I'm running miles to this. I'm jumping over this. They're kind of crazy pumped up. And then I got the idea that, okay, well, I never share music that I make on my own. I usually, when I make records, I'm writing them for other artists. Yes. And I'm saying, okay, here's Alicia, I might write a record for Alicia Keys, write the chorus, everything. Here you go. And then let them do it. But then I felt like this is in my voice, and this is something from the hip hop community that's never, I feel, been done. Is an affirmations project that's new age, focusing on mental health, that's focusing on, boosting up our subconscious and boosting our ego. And I said, okay, let me just package this up. And if I can inspire 100 people, if I can inspire 10 people, that would be great. And so I sent it to 50 people. directly that I knew. And then the feedback was just so strong. Like, we need this so bad. I needed this so bad. I'm listening to this song again. I can't stop listening to this one again and again and again. And then, so now I'm just like, okay, I need to press this up as a record and make a promotion for it. And I needed to get it into anybody's hands who I think can benefit from this troubling times,
Awesome.
So I'm aiming to get it to the youth. I'm aiming to get it to elderly. I'm aiming to get it to people who are incarcerated. I'm anybody who needs a mental health boost. I'm looking at it now as, vitamins for your mind. And the slogan for it is, I want to see you shining, because I want to see people come out of this better. How can we come out of this better? That's one of the first moments, even when this first started, was I reached out to Dr. Dre. And I was like, how you doing with this? And he wrote me back, and he was like, look, how can we not come out of this different? What are we going to do as individuals to come out of this different? Are you gonna be the same person before this started as you were before, or can you somehow find yourself to be better, or somehow make some new magic out of this? And I'm just inspired to do that. I'm inspired to turn whatever this is into something great for us. I think, as African American community, as Black people, we've been through tougher than this. Our ancestors have been through tougher than this, and here we are, in our lovely homes and private bathrooms,
right, right,
that are indoors.
Yes, exactly.
Hot water in the house, things that we don't really appreciate. The ancestors would be like, "Oh my God, you have hot water in your home." We've been through a lot. We've been through a lot, and I feel like we can make something better out of this. I feel like the George Floyd situation globally has challenged a lot of people to say we have to make something better out of this. He's challenged corporations to say they have to do better. We have to be direct. We have to have tangibles directly for the Black community. We have to say, this is what we're going to give to this Black neighborhood, to this Black cause. We have to get direct out of it, and not just make these wide programs that are not directed towards, foundational Black Americans who have been through, our families have been through this struggle for so long. So overall, it's just that I want to find a way to come out of this better. And if I could offer something to the mental health of this thing, I need it for myself first. First, I'm not, as a creative person, we live on the edge. We live on a emotional edge where we're like tapped into extreme emotions. That's the job that we have, is to actually open ourselves up to things that most people have to close themselves up to.
Yeah.
We have to say, when I find that emotion, I'm going to turn that emotion on more. I'm going to make it more emotional. I'm going to go into that. And from that, there's a huge vulnerability that creative people have. And this is what I've always seen from working with the various artists I've worked with. And so for myself on a personal level, it's been like, I need to boost, I need to protect, myself. And if that's by saying, the first words that I wrote after I reached a peak point. And I think other people I know are just reaching their peak now, because I'm looking on the internet and I'm seeing people like, the mental stress and barrage of this is starting to hit a lot of people.
So you mean the peak point is in like the point where it's like, I can't do this anymore, like the breaking point. Okay.
The breaking point. I can't take it from friends, from artists that I work with. I'm seeing them posting online, and that I can't take it. And my first words that I wrote were, I'm a walking monument to excellence. I'm a higher force of being. I'm the pinnacle of universal intelligence. I'm the living biblical testament. It's not arrogance when you live in proof of the evidence, when the God force is around you and you fulfilled every prerequisite. And that was the first thing that I wrote.
Wow.
That's the challenge.
Wow.
And again, I don't wake up feeling like that every day because I'm
Yes.
sure by the time, people come talk to me about this, they going to expect me to come out looking like Schwarzenegger, like
Right.
this guy really got it together.
Right.
No.
Right.
I'm just another person just trying to pump themselves up, and use whatever medicine I can. So I just read an article, Dr. Alfie, the other day,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it said that 1 out of 4 people in America between the ages of 18 and 24 has thought or considered the thought of suicide in the
Yes, sir.
last 3 or 4 months.
Yes, sir.
That is the level of mental barrage, the level of the disconnection, the what's going to happen next, the anxiety that we're feeling every day. That's the level of it that people are going through right now.
Yes.
And I'm feeling like, I don't have the answers,
Yes.
but if there's anything that we can say that could combat that in any way, that's what I want to offer from this.
Oh, I
My
love it.
my first week, when I do all the sales, everything we doing for the first week, it's all going to charities. It's all going to to help people, or because that's the goal of this. It's like
Yes.
I just want to do whatever I can do as an individual to
Yes.
boost. And again, there's this famous Louis Armstrong quote where they ask him, when he's in a concert, what is he
Mhm.
thinking?
Mhm.
And he says, when I take my trumpet and I'm playing, Louis Armstrong to me is probably one of the greatest musicians that ever
Period.
walked the planet.
Period.
It's like I stand on stage and I'm playing for one person. I'm performing for one person. I'm looking in the audience and
Mm.
I'm like, this is for you right there. And that's where I am with this, is that I'm directing it towards the individual. You know what I mean? I'm saying I want to have a conversation with anybody and say, if you can repeat these words with me or learn some of these words, just pick out some of them or whatever words you want, and then repeat those to yourself in the mirror, that there are positive gains to happen from that. And I'm hoping that maybe there's somebody who's distraught today, somebody
Yes.
who might be considering suicide, somebody who might be having a mental episode, somebody who might be chemically unbalanced, that somewhere in there, these chemical imbalance can be challenged by just a statement like the one I have on one of the songs on there that just says, I am strong and courageous, I have no fear.
Mm.
And when I wrote it, that's, to me, that was another peak point for me, because how can we not be afraid? And as men, especially, we're not supposed to be afraid of anything. You're like, you're supposed to. I ain't scared
Tell
of
the
nothing.
truth.
I ain't
Tell
scared
the
of
truth.
nothing. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? But when you see somebody, I talked to somebody, a good friend of mine, and they
Yes.
were like, they had a parent that was fine on Friday and passed away on a Wednesday
Oh.
from the coronavirus, who was fine before. And so when you think that something, can attack the body so quickly and you're seeing it happen, how can you not be afraid? How can you not have anxiety?
Yes.
How can you not, once you accept that you do have that. So when I wrote that affirmation, I said, I'm strong and courageous. I'm above fear.
Yes.
I'm strong and courageous. I control fear.
Mm.
I am strong and courageous. I have no fear. So
Mm.
I wrote it in 3 tiers. So
Yes.
first saying, I'm above it, you're accepting or accepting your own responsibility to say fear is there.
That's right.
Fear is there. But
That's right.
I'm going to control it. I'm going to master it until there's none. And that's what that affirmation is about. And so that's one of the ones for I've been handing to people who are feeling ill,
Yes.
so I'm like, just take this and say this over and over again.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
grab that. I have the 3-minute version that I put on the record, but there's the 8-minute version,
Uh-oh.
the long
That's
form.
it. Come on now.
That's the friends and family version.
Yeah.
For the family pack.
Yes.
And I let them just repeat it over and over and over again. And there's some health benefits to it, some mental health benefits to it, and I'm sure
Yes.
that the power of the word,
Yes.
is a huge step in your telling your mind and your body what's going to happen.
That's
That
right.
if you start, they have had, I've read about tests and scientific tests where
Yeah.
if you tell your body that it was healing, if you say it enough times that it would, I had a meeting, Dr. Alfie, recently
Mm-hmm.
with the Cedar Sinai,
Mm-hmm.
who work for Cedar Sinai in the
Okay.
in cancer, and they're developing this virtual reality um, simulations.
Wow.
And one of the doctors, I went to the conference. They had an online conference,
Okay.
and it's like he had a virtual reality program that they were testing.
Okay.
That when you put this thing on and you did whatever it did with your mind, they said it was stronger than fentanyl
Yes.
with just your mind alone.
Yes. Yes.
So when you understand that if your mind is so powerful that it could be stronger than one of the strongest drugs, opiates
Yes.
ever made,
Yes.
we do have this magnificent potential
Yes.
to unleash. And again, I'm at the beginning of it. I have, by all means, not mastered.
Yeah,
Not
but I
mastered.
think what you're saying, what you're speaking to is about, like, you talked about, like, Louise Hayes and CT. What is it? CT?
CT Fletcher. CT
Fletcher.
Fletcher.
My brother loves CT Fletcher. He likes the loud. I think
Yeah,
there's something about the masculine that resonates with that.
right.
I'm just saying the masculine. I'm not saying men. I'm saying the masculine. So I
Gotcha.
think that touches more the masculine side of who we are. My brother loves them. I can't get with it's too loud for me, and I'm like more right because I'm anxious, and so I need stuff to come like way down. And so I tend to like people who make it positive and like really make it clear. And that's one of the things I love about the music is you make it really clear, you make it really easy for people to grasp. So one of the people I've been listening to a lot lately, in addition to your album, is Abraham Hicks. And I know people think that's a little out there, but it's
No,
just the way that
really.
Abraham articulates, right? It makes it easy. And so what Abraham talks about is you're always moving toward your highest good or away from your highest good. And that's what I love about the album, because what you're saying is you give it to people in steps, right?
Right.
And so I agree with you. That's what I teach people all the time. We have to start with an acknowledgement that
Mm.
we're fearful. As an anxious person, as a Black woman, I spent the better 2/3 of my life thinking anxiety was not a thing, right? And this is even after I got into the field and got trained. I was like, no, that's not me, because that's what I learned from watching my family. That's what
Got
I learned from the people in our community. It was like, no, we don't have them. It's just white people problems. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
there's a variation of white people problems in every community of color, right? In many communities, like Filipino community, I have a lot of Filipino friends, and they're like, yeah, child, that's first world problem. You know what I mean? And so there's this version of we don't deal with that. And so this acknowledgement, when I was able to acknowledge, as you just described, that fear is a thing, and then I
Yes.
can attribute fear to me, that's the first step. My brother also taught me, and I love saying this everywhere I go, sunshine is the best disinfectant. So if you can shine a light on that thing, then you can see where all the gaps and the holes and the injuries are, and you can start to heal. So that when I hear you talk about uh, putting your affirmations in tears, that's
Yes.
what I'm hearing, right? And so I love everything that you've described about that. And I wonder if you can tell us, as much as you would like, a little bit about, is there like an order to the album where certain songs come first, or do you know what I mean? Like, or did you just put them together in the album in a way that just felt right? Do you have anything to share with us about that?
Yeah. When I was sequencing, I sequenced the flow. My goal was to sequence the flow ideally for a 30-minute cardio experience. That's the way there's this point. I don't, when you go to cardio,
Yeah.
uh, if you're going into 30-minute cardio, I feel like for me, there's this point around, 9 minutes or so.
Yes. Yes.
You got to tell your body, you know what, you know, you got to push this, and and,
Yes.
and and that's what I put around that time is when it comes to the song called "I Love Working Out." Now,
Uh,
I've discussed this with many people, and I got to keep saying I love working out because
I don't always
that's one
love
of
it.
my bigger
Not gonna
challenges in
lie.
life.
Yes.
That's one of my
Yeah.
bigger challenges, and it's just not natural for me to just. I'm not like that guy that just says, "Oh, I'm going to get up in the morning and run these miles," or I just can't. I'm just going to get up in the morning and I just going to hit the gym and it's going. It's just never. I've never in my life been that person. It's always been cerebral. I'm more like, let me get up in the morning and tinker with this synthesizer and let me play with this machine over here.
That's you an engineer over here. Yeah.
I just go into sound and sonics and the science of that. So that song. So as I'm going, I'm starting with I am, and I am is just a declaration. It's to say this is I am. I'm powerful. I'm a monument to excellence. These are all the things I'm capable of. And then I went from there. That's my first statement. And then there it's affirmations, which is the second song. And the reason why I put that there is to explain creatively what affirmations are, which is to say, if you want to build something, and this was something given to me by Dr. DeMello from Akasha Integrated Medicine, which is if you want to build something, you have to build it in your mind first.
Amen. That's it.
Then you start speaking into life and doing other creative process in order to build it and keep building it again. So if you're in your mind and you're saying you got to start seeing your future. If you want a dynamic future, you have to build it first in your mind. So these affirmation is to say, everything built once has been built twice.
Amen.
First the thought in your mind brings the structure to life. Then the vocalizing of the word, that's what brings it to light. You know what I mean? So it's like these thoughts are in your word and make them powerful. And then that's I ground in there. So once you're there and you know what affirmations are, then I hit you with I'm strong and courageous. I have no fear. We practice it in that next song, and then that's when in the workout, you're like, okay, I got there. And then that's when I love working out comes on. I'm a little tired by the time I said I have gone strong and courageous, but no fear at the top of my lungs.
That's it.
I'm a little exhausted by then.
That's it. Because when I get about halfway through my favorite workout right now, and I'm gonna figure out how I integrate your album into as a part of what I do. When I use it, I meditate with it. So I just sit and listen and let the the sounds just wash over me, and the affirmations as well. And what I've used is extreme hip hop from Phil. It's his brother out of Ohio, and it's all probably some of the music that you created. It's all contemporary music. It's all hip hop and R&B, but it's the idea of it's got to be something that resonates with my spirit, right? So as a Black woman, I love hip hop and R&B. Like we're same generation. So, I grew up we were in college, right after college, when Biggie came out. I was in school at Howard with Puffy. And so I remember, the parties he would throw. I just remember that whole vibe, that whole energy. And, we have to be honest, like you said at the beginning, back then, there still is. There was a lot of misogyny and there were hardly any sisters out there rapping. We had like Queen Latifah. And then after I was out of college, we had Foxy Brown, but you had like smatterings, right? We had Lil' Kim, but we didn't have a whole, broad range and depth as Black women. And so just when I do the workout with that music, with his music, it's music that I recognize. And so that motivates me. But I have to be honest. Most of those workouts are between 30 and 45 minutes. When you were talking about I love working out, it's the halfway point where my body's like, yeah, I'm done. Like, I don't do this anymore. And then I have to and then he'll play something. I'm like, yeah. And then I'm like most of the time it's like Biggie or something. And then I'm back in it. So the idea of how your wording was much more eloquent than mine, the sequencing, I feel like it's so important for people to hear and understand, because just like you said, when you were talking about that, I read this book. This is a white guy from Canada. I think his name is Cameron Harold. He has a book called Vivid Vision. And literally it's exactly what you said. And so I do feel like the vivid vision, I should say that real quickly, is what you said about you build it once in your mind, then you speak it into existence, and then it shows up. And so just like the doctor you referenced with the alternative, methods of healing, I believe that by the time it shows up in your life, it's already been built, because that's what we create. And so everything that you're saying, it just resonates with me so much. And I'm so glad we've had this opportunity to have this conversation on my podcast, because this is what I want our people to hear and experience, especially coming from somebody who they're going to look at and respect and recognize because of the space that you operate in. It's one thing for me to say, this is what I do. It's sort of like, this is what I'm supposed to say. It's something totally different for you in your regular life, right? Where you just talk about your friends and you say Dr. Dre, or you say Alicia Keys. You know what I mean? This is the circle that you're in. And this is what grabs way more people. And so I'm just so grateful to you
Wow.
because as a Black man, you've said our mental health, Black people, right? Somebody saying my Black people's mental health and the mental health of people of color, older people, younger people, people like us in the middle, it matters. And let
Uh,
me teach you what I've been taught, and let me like the fact that you created something that you're going to share with people in this way. I have to tell you how
mm,
deeply meaningful that is to me, in addition to the fact that we both went to Howard. So, this is the excellence that Howard University produces. I just want everybody to know that. But what I want to, I don't want to keep you all day. I could talk to you all day, literally. But are there any, maybe two things? One is, before we close out, the last thing I would like you to do is tell us one affirmation from your album that is the most meaningful to you. That's second. So we're going to end with that. If there's one or two that are the most meaningful to you personally and why. And then before that, can you tell us a little bit about what's the plan? Say as much or as little as you like. What is
yes.
the plan for how you're going to get this album out there, and when should people start looking for it? Tell us a little bit about that too.
Okay. There's one song that I feel is very, very important to me. It's very
Okay.
simple. It's called "You Are Beautiful." And when on the surface, I feel like the song, there's one aspect of it, because a lot of the album, I feel, has a mirror work capability to it, where you can
Yes.
just kind of go in the mirror and you can say, this is how I feel about myself. If
Yeah.
you have any doubts. And I wrote the "You Are Elegant" song is just for that. It's a literally
Yes.
song about mirror work. But
Yes.
"You Are Beautiful" is a song about the progression of life. And what I'm saying on the song is that you kind of start from this beginning point, and even whatever happens, there's a huge spiritual part of who we are, and I believe that part is eternal. That we come from a higher source that we will return to, and no matter what happens in life, as it progresses, even if you face the hardest times, even if when you have to face the end, when a person in your life, you have to face the end, someone has to face the end. I saw it when I was younger.
Yes.
My dad died when I was 12
Okay.
of cancer, and I watched him uh, wither away from the disease. But somewhere in there, I feel like he has become more powerful,
Amen.
and it's become more beautiful. And I feel like as we progress in life, that one day our energy will become a star-like energy, a beautiful spiritual, uh, eternal star-like energy. And so I'm traveling with you on that song to say, every second you're getting more beautiful. So now, even if you're 85 years old, 90 years old, you're beautiful then. And then when you go to the next form, then you're even more beautiful. So
Yes.
we're getting more and more beautiful with every second, even to eternity. And
Mm.
and that's one thing that touches me in a nice way when I listen to it. When I say, after this, we have a kiss, and then we're divine reflections, universal soul beings. We achieve 360 degrees of perfection, even as we progress. So that touches me in a nice way. And as far as getting it to people, we're going to go organically. Like, I don't
Okay.
feel like, I want to approach this like I'm about to drop the latest joint,
Yeah. Yeah.
put this out with Drake, it's like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, I'm not, that's, I'm not
We're
there,
gonna get
you
Drake on
know.
the track with some affirmations.
I don't feel, competitive. Like, I'm, sometime in music, as far as producers is concerned,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a saying that we say that we often refer to it, as the sport of music, because it's very competitive. Like,
Yes.
I've went in and competed with people to make, records that sold more, that were
Yes.
bigger. I'm going to make multi-platinum records, in the long, in the brand that in my life, in the world, I've sold 150 million albums, so it's a competitive sport, you know what I mean? And, but this right here, I feel like I don't want to put that in the arena of that level of competition. I wanted to
Yes.
more to inspire. So I haven't went to any label or anything. The first week run is going to be a charity run, of the pre-sale charity run, where we're just going to, get as many buys as we can. I'm talking to people on the phone. I'm raising money. I'm acting like I'm running for office. We're raising money for these charities. So come on board, and you take a sale, and we'll get it to that. And then once we get to a point where I see what the response is, if I feel like I want to do a big promotional push, I will. But right now, I'm more focused on letting people know that there's vitamins for your mind available on the internet. That you could press this, click on this button, or you could go to YouTube and you can watch this. If you're feeling like it's too much, that you should grab onto that. So again, like I told you, it's a Louis Armstrong idea. I'm really pitching to one person, and I've been increasing the circle. I think that right now my circle is at 50 people. I feel like in the next couple of months or so, we're going to get that circle to more like 5,000.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And if the universe permits or feels the need for it to go to 1 million, then I will take on that challenge and do whatever it needs to happen to get it to those numbers, and also to develop this handbook, which we're talking with you about. Which thank you for all of your help and blessings. I appreciate you so much. That sometimes when things happen in life and things are going on, and then we get to this kind of point where we reach our thresholds or we reach our tipping points, and then people always say, well, you need to deal with that. You need to deal, and then there's always to me this question, like, deal with it how?
Exactly.
This what tell me something that I can do. So inside of this handbook, I just want to have some simple techniques, breathing exercises, affirmations that we can do when faced with challenges. I'm going to go where it takes me. So Dr. Alfie, I have to say I'm so appreciative that you're taking your time.
Come on.
To be a part of this and let me be a part of your podcast and your world. I'm a huge fan. I love what you do. I went and saw your videos. I went watching the videos, telling friends, sending your websites around, because I go back to the beginning of it, especially for Black people. That if we see somebody who's been through a traumatic situation, we see somebody who's been through a robbery or a crime has been committed against them. The first thing we say is, you need to go to therapy. You know what I mean? It's very important to go to therapy. You need to talk with somebody who's professional, unbiased, and professional, who can help guide you to it and find something better for you, to find a better place for you to do this. Because, our mind, you don't want these things to poison your mind and take over your mind, take over your daily life. So we look back at, Africans starting in America, and we look back, at this terrible period of all these people enslaved. And you're talking about a person, 1865 when the Civil War ended. You're talking about people who were, of all ages, who had spent their entire lives under the most terrible conditions you could possibly imagine. And I'm talking about 4 million people. So it's 1865, now it's 4 million people, and it's like, okay, now, we're going to start a new America. We've won the Civil War. We're now Americans. And I'm saying is that at that point, can you imagine the mental trauma that so many people were under at that point? And we were promised that point that we would get 40 acres and a mule.
40 acres and a mule. Yep. Shout out Spike Lee. Yep.
Spike Lee, and that the 13th, the 14th Amendment, I believe, would protect us, give us equal protection under the law.
Didn't do it.
So in 1877, there was a conflict between the Democratic and Republican Party, where there were thoughts that maybe the Civil War would start again. And then they made what is called the Compromise of 1877. That's when they removed Union troops from the South and left the Black people in the South without protection of the law. For 100 years. So that's what we got instead of 40 acres and a mule. Was 100 more years of civil rights terrorism and abuse. So I'm saying the mental trauma that exists in our communities, that we're like saying, just drink some ginger ale. Let's go take a couple of, it's huge. Was a part of being, a part of the African American experience. Part of being a foundational Black American is being in the lineage and the DNA of
That's
this
it.
huge mental trauma.
That's
And
it right
so I
there.
think at some point we all need to address it. And I'm hoping, that reparations to me is a solid discussion. I mean,
Yes.
not just for slavery, but for the
Yes.
100-year civil rights violations that followed it,
That's
and
right.
for redlining, for Jim Crow, and for mass
That's
incarceration.
right. That's right.
We are indebted, like we are owed, and I think part of that package should be mental health. Mental
Amen.
health part of it. A package should be in
Amen.
there where people who have been mass incarcerated, who have been victims of redlining, who have been victims of Jim Crow, who have been victims of whatever, should have free mental health care as
I
well.
agree.
And
And their
so
families,
and
because it never just happens to one of us, right? If one person is incarcerated, it's a whole family, right,
yes,
that is impacted by that person's incarceration, whether that's incarcerated individual's children, or whether it's that person is a child of other people and is incarcerated. So their parents and aunties and uncles and grandparents, all of these people are impacted. One of my hairdressers, actually, her spouse is incarcerated, and she got 3 little kids, right? And
mm,
so it's huge. And so I didn't know that until I just went to see her a couple of days ago, and as the spouse had texted her a picture
mm,
standing in front of the wall, with his prison issue clothes on, and she called a little 8-year-old out and said, "Daddy wants you to see this picture." And I'm thinking, my God,
mm,
do you know what I mean? Like, so there's so many layers to that, right? And the child was like, "Oh, I gotta go show, brother, sister, look, it's daddy." So, it was heartbreaking, but heartwarming at the same time, because they're trying to stay connected at unit. But just watching this is a little kid. He's like 8 years old and he can't be with his dad. And so that's traumatizing for her, right? That's traumatizing for the kids. That's traumatizing for that brother who's incarcerated. And so I agree with you 100%. And I do think that this mental health conversation, this mental health piece, you are not alone. It's a lot of people even in your field, in your space, right, who are all about, we got to take care of Black people's mental health. And so I've had the privilege of getting connected with a few. The son of Don Cornelius, Tony Cornelius, is big about suicide prevention.
yeah,
Charlemagne, right? Charlemagne the God is big about Black people's mental health, period, even to the point where he talks about his own, personal journey. And so I think about all these people. Shamika Holsclaw, the retired WNBA player, she talks about her experience, as a woman and as a queer woman. And so it's so important that we get that kind of diverse representation, because it speaks to exactly what you said. It's that intergenerational trauma that has existed and has
right,
never, I mean, come on, bruh. When we were in college, we didn't even really say white people. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that was bad to name them as white. And you
right,
certainly didn't say people were being racist. This
right.
whole conversation about white supremacy and stuff that the millennials and Gen Z, I'm like, oh, child, that's like liberating. So I'm like, oh, we can say that now? Oh, okay. So we can articulate and we can say that these structures are racist and homophobic and,
Right.
systemically discriminatory. That to me is just a little smidgen of freedom. So what you're talking about is extending it even further and saying, look, like I'm going to say just what you said,
Mm,
reparations is a solid discussion, right?
it
That
is.
has to happen, and mental health has to be a part of that, because
Must
Black people have been so negatively impacted for so many years.
right, 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 right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. That is the discussion.
Yeah.
That
So
is
I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart,
you.
all around for what you have done. When we get off, I'm gonna go back and listen to that album again, and I'm excited for the release. I'm excited for the heart that you have to even share some of those proceeds with some of the different charities that are out here doing the work.
Yeah,
And
yes.
you said it a little more tentatively. We're just going to claim that, right? 1 million people plus need this healing, and so that you're going to reach that million, because it's too many people who need it. It's too important. It's too positive, and it's coming from a brother, right? That kind of light coming from a brother, like you said, that gives us balance. There's room for the people to talk about what's heavy and difficult and negative, right, in their
Right,
music. And there's also room for you to lift us up and talk about what's good and powerful and light and just wonderful, right, about our communities and about who we are as a people, and about why us taking care of our mental health is something that we all really must do. So I am just, thank you
I'm
so much.
inspired. Thank you so much. You are such an
Yes.
inspiration, Dr. Alfie. Thank you so much.
Oh, bless your heart. I reflect that right back to you and I receive it. So, and I'm just really excited. And I want to say as we end, namaste, my brother. I am so deeply grateful to have met you and connected. And I really deeply thank you for coming on the podcast and for using your God given talents, your gifts to uplift all of us.
Blessings to you. Blessings.
So there you have it. The amazing conversation with King Batson, which is the name he goes under for this album. I Want to See You Shining. And his name is Mark Batson, super producer. As he shared with you, he worked with the Dr. Dre for many years at Aftermath. You heard all of the wonderful accolades about him. And you also heard about this brother's passion. He created a whole album around affirming and building up young men and women who are African American and Black, young people of color, and for those of us who are also young at heart. Because as he said in his album, I'm getting younger every day. I'm not getting older. So I'm just so deeply grateful to Mark, my Howard University brother, for creating this project. I have to be honest with you and say I listen to it literally every day. My favorite song is You Are Elegant. It's just amazing. So I really recommend that song as well as the whole album. And I can't think of a better way to celebrate World Mental Health Awareness Week and World Mental Health Day which is Saturday, October 10th of 2020. So I, in closing, want to say to you that I hope that there was something that we discussed that spoke to your heart, that spoke to helping you build up your mental health, because you know what I'm all about. So in closing, let me say to you also that I want to wish you lots of love, lots of light. I want it always to be informed by good, culturally relevant science. And I am so elated to be able to bring you not only this special mini episode, but also all of season 2. So stay with us. Tell everybody you know to go subscribe, right? Because we're a video and an audio podcast. So don't forget to subscribe. And we're over on YouTube, right? Just so you know, we're on all podcast platforms. Go give us a rating. Just do whatever you can to spread the word and help us out so that we can let everybody know how much their mental health means to us. We want you to know that we see you, we value you, we love you, and we are all about marginalized populations, people of color, and our mental health. Take care. Bye-bye.